Hello, and thank you for having me in this inspiring seminar. The paper that I'm going to present is entitled A Consciousness of the Borderlands, the character of Ana García in Cardoso's Real Women Have Curves as the new Mestiza. So my aim is to analyze the character of Ana in Cardoso's film adaptation as a symbol of the new Mestiza, which is a figure that Ansaldúa discusses in her publication entitled Borderlands. So I deal with a cultural production, a film, that speaks from the borders. The story itself and the creators speak from a marginalized position as Latinas and Chicanas. And it's because of that I wanted to approach it from a perspective that also talked from that place. And that is why I used Ansaldúa's publication. And the reason why I did it in this way is because I wanted to adopt a perspective that allowed me to analyze this Chicana identity from the experience of a Chicana. That is to say, learning from the South through an epistemology of the South. And this is something that the professor in sociology, Boaventura de Sousa Santos, argues in his article Beyond Abyssal Thinking, From Global Lines to Ecologies of Knowledges. And here, and I quote from his article, he says that post-abyssal thinking involves a radical break with modern Western ways of thinking and acting. This entails a non-derivative thinking, which means to think from the perspective of the other side of the line, precisely because the other side of the line has been the realm of the unthinkable in Western modernity. End of quote. Now that this has been clarified, let's talk about Real Women Have Curves. So the film was released in 2002 and it recovers the story written by Josefina Lopez in her homonymous play published in 1996. And this play is about a group of Chicano women living in Los Angeles. Lopez's play was groundbreaking since it successfully depicts how undocumented people in the United States need to be acknowledged as important contributors of that country and also lose the dehumanized aspect that has been imposed on them. And not only that, it also shows the extraordinary and strong bond that is created between women when working together. And however, as Lopez tells in an interview, she founded Casa 0101 because no one would produce Real Women Have Curves in Los Angeles. She says, I would be told that this was an undignified portrayal of Latina women and that they didn't care for my Chicana diatribe. It was very condescending, insulting, and racist. What Cardoso does in her film adaptation is that she recovers this story and places the focus on the youngest of all the characters, Ana García, an 18-year-old who is constantly moving between two opposing worlds. The cast was mostly formed by Latin American actors and actresses, and Cardoso's aim was to show a part of Los Angeles that the public normally don't see. That is, Los Angeles in a beautiful way, not a neighborhood filled with stereotypes of East Los Angeles. And finally, the film gained the Sundance Film Festival Audience Award in 2002. Let's move on now to Borderlands. This book addresses the issue of being at the crossroads. As Ansaldúa writes, this book speaks of my existence, my preoccupations with the inner life of the self, and with the struggle of that self amidst adversity and violation, with the confluence of primordial images, with the unique positionings consciousness takes at these confluent streams, and with my almost instinctive urge to communicate, to speak, to write about life on the borders, life in the shadows. I wanted to point out that this feeling of not belonging and queerness that Ansaldúa talks and describes in this publication is already represented in the cover of the book, since she chooses to represent the Aztec wind god, and it's this idea of wind is of having many directions, of fluidity, that is already represented here. And also she talks about two important concepts, which are border culture and borderland. For the first one, she says that the United States-Mexican border is an open wound, where the third wall grates against the first and bleeds, and before a scab forms it hemorrhages again. The lifeblood of two walls merging to form a third country, a border culture. And for borderland, she defines it as a vague and undetermined place created by the emotional residue of an unnatural boundary. Unnatural. It is in a constant state of transition. The prohibited and forbidden are its habitants, and those who cross over, pass over, or go through the confines of the normal. But the relevant term that I want to focus on is the one of the new Mestiza. Here I summarize key features that Anzaldúa uses in Borderlands to describe the new Mestiza. So this consciousness of the new Mestiza blurs the boundaries of identity through the process of having to cross over and negotiate through these limitations. Anzaldúa uses this term, the new Mestiza, to distinguish it from the traditional mestizo or mestizaje. Since, although in the new Mestiza the mixture is biological, it can also be cultural and intellectual. It is a cultural mestizaje in that she is constantly crossing into different walls. She goes from the ethnic home wall to the wall of the academy, to the job wall, to the feminist community, and to other different communities. The new Mestiza is sensitive to and aware of her ethnic and cultural mestizaje. She is politically aware of what goes on in these different communities and worlds, and therefore brings a different perspective to what is going on. Because of the reality of the new Mestiza is split into two, she is forced to live in the interface between the two, forced to become adept at switching modes. She has to constantly shift out of habitual formations from convergent thinking, analytical reasoning that tends to use rationality to move towards a single goal, a Western mode, to divergent thinking that is characterized by movement away from set patterns and goals and towards a more whole perspective, one that includes rather than excludes. The new Mestiza does not only adapt her thoughts to different cultures, but she also develops a conscious rupture with all oppressive traditions of all cultures and religions, strengthening her tolerance and intolerance for ambiguity. And precisely Ana Garcia represents that. So the film is full of scenes that visualize this crisscrossing between the two walls, and also like representations of the American and Mexican culture. And this hybrid nature is mainly exemplified in the film by means of the scenes in which Anna moves from her ethnic home in Bull Heights to her white and middle high class environment in Beverly Hills High School, or later when Anna goes to Columbia University in New York. And by doing this, Anna shows that she cannot only transcend these cultural boundaries, but also that she possesses an identity that comprehends both of them. The music that accompanies Anna during the first scene blends traditional and modern rhythms, pointing to her fluidity. And also, although she walks the streets of New York with an American Western look at the end of the film, the music links her to her Mexican family. This cultural cross-fertilization is also reflected by means of the way Anna speaks, for she can perfectly change her linguistic code from English to Spanish, and by how she thinks, as she alternates between a convergent or Western thinking and a divergent one, revealing moments in which she prioritizes her admission to the university and others where she embraces the Chicana community formed at the sewing factory of her sister. And finally, as a new Mestiza, Anna also faces a feeling of alienation or estrangement when crossing into a new place. That at the same time, stresses her personal and cognitive evolution. So as we cannot discuss in detail every scene, I added here some articles that I use in my paper that also talk also about these features, about the meaning of music in the film and clothing, the thinking, and yeah. But what I would really like to do is to discuss the last scene of the movie, of the film. This last scene really works as a symbol of something that Anzaldúa writes in Borderlands, that I quote here. She says, "Every increment of consciousness, every step forward is a travesía, a crossing. I am again an alien in a new territory, and again, but if I escape conscious awareness, escape knowing, I won't be moving." And what Anna does in the end is that after saying goodbye to her father and grandfather at the airport, she vanishes from the scene to take her flight to New York, as she's finally going to Columbia University with a full scholarship. The upcoming scene shows Anna ascending from a subway, probably near Times Square. She appears with a look that differs from the one that she has been wearing, and this is a look that resembles Western fashion. She wears her hair down, makeup, a pair of black high-heel boots, and however, the music played in this scene links Anna this time to her Latino culture. When Anna leaves the subway and starts walking down the crowded and bright streets, one could argue that she seems lost and lonely. Indeed, there is a moment in which she has to change her direction and she starts looking everywhere while maintaining a confused expression, an action that is accompanied by a decline of the music rhythm, which underlines the idea that she does not completely fit in. In spite of Anna's moment of uncertainty, she dares to keep with her path, and before the scene fades out, Anna energetically turns the corner, disagreeing with the pedestrian signal that says in red flashing letters, "Don't walk," probably meaning that Anna refuses to remain in a single place, but rather she's going to maintain her incessant moving forward while crisscrossing two walls. To conclude, I would like to say that Real Women Have Curves brings to the foreground the story of a character that lives on the borders, and that resembles in a way the experiences of their creators and the testimony of Anzaldúa. Then, as this artistic production speaks from the borders, it was necessary to use an approach that also talked directly from this position, acknowledging and most importantly, listening to the existing plurality of knowledges. And that is the end of the presentation. Here I added some relevant references that I use in case you want to expand further on the topic. And that's it. Thank you for listening.